All right. Hey, Neil, you're on? Oh, you're on mute, Neil.
Oh,
there you go.
I didn't expect you to talk to me that quick. Hi.
All right. Hi. Yeah. Well, anyway, let me start her up again. Yeah. So thanks for being here. And again, as we've been reiterating, Happy Memorial Day. Thanks to all of our servicemen and women who have taken the ultimate sacrifice for our freedom. So keep them in your minds, and I hope we'll have a great rest of the day here for the YouTuber's Hamfest. So I have Neil Rapp here to talk about Youth on the Air. You may have heard that our Youth on the Air program has been postponed. Our camp has been postponed from 2020 to 2021. But we are still chugging along. We have some new events. So, Neil, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, just a quick intro to Youth on the Air. Sterling and Sam, KC2LRC, went to Austria and to the Youngsters on the Air camp a few years ago, and kind of went with the intent of copying and stealing everything and bringing it over here.
Yep.
And so we're finally getting that going, and COVID-19 decided to delay that a year, but we're making do. We actually are coming out pretty good out of it. We're all disappointed, of course, but financially, I think our loss was a whopping $30. And we've got everything set up just to do it next year. So we're postponing it. So everything's still kind of along the same plan. I'm sure we'll have to change a few things due to schedules, but the idea is to get youth together and get them working on things and helping each other and trying to keep our youth in amateur radio. There's a lot of initiatives on getting kids into ham radio, and we're all for that, of course.
Yep.
We just had a new 10-year-old. We posted something about that I got an email from that was wanting to get involved in the program, and just got his license. But we're really focused on keeping kids in ham radio. We're not really focused on getting kids in ham radio. We have hundreds of kids in ham radio. We just don't have that much out there for them. We have a few little things here and there, and so we're trying to add to that collection.
Yep.
We're not trying to replace that collection. We're trying to add to that collection by doing this camp.
Yeah, I'll mention. I'll go ahead and mention that a couple of those things is that are out there. You have the Young Amateurs Communication Ham Team. That's YOTA, and I think Dennis or Denny K5DCC has been around. So appreciate him for running that with Ed. And then you also have the Young Amateurs Radio Club, which I'm a part of. The Arc.world is their website, and that's a Discord server for many young hams. And we'll have some people, some kids from the Remote Ham Radio, and talk about their youth initiative, kind of all over the place. And I think YOTA will sort of serve as the collection point, meeting point, kind of saying, like, here's all of the youth resources that we have to offer for young hams out there.
Yeah, and it's going to be a great week when we get together, but we're going to try to get everybody together on Zoom for a day during the camp and do a little bit of stuff. So, again, they can get to know each other and get to know, their expertise. And the big focus too is that the young people are teaching most of this. We have just about everything taught by young hams. And by young, we're talking, 30 and under.
Yep. Yeah, it's not just kids. Like a lot of people think, oh, I want to get my 7-year-old son or daughter into ham radio. It runs a whole gamut of, I think 30 is probably an upper age of youth, but really we don't try to put too much of a definition on it. It's just, even if you're youth at heart, if you're really engaged with young people, then
Now for the camp, we do have a limit of 15 to 25. We'll push that a year or two, if we have a recommendation. There's some circumstances there, but that's just to kind of keep things going. And I've had several requests for, I've got a 10-year-old, and I'm like, well, it breaks my heart to say no, but because so much of this is a social thing, not just a ham radio thing, we kind of felt like we need to do that. But I'd love to have a kids version.
Yeah,
I really would. And the hope is eventually that the young people are doing most of the planning. We're setting up the first one.
Yeah.
But hopefully the young people then, can kind of see how that goes and then model it and run with it and then duplicate it, so that we're not just having one. But
not just the only one. A lot like, so this all comes from the YOTA camp from before, and they have all these sub-regional camps, and that's all completely led by young people. And I'm 28, and I'm considered, besides Connor in the chat saying that I'm an OM, I'm pretty young as ham radio goes. But even then, like the people over in YOTA are much younger than me and have much more spry in their step, if you will. So. Neil, do you have any slides or anything about?
Yeah. Let me pull that up actually, because there is something new that's just developed in the last couple of days. So let me talk a little bit about that.
All right.
By the way, we'll put the sales pitch here. YouthOnTheAir.org is where you will find us, and we try to link any youth-related activity. Now, nets, the ARRL has a youth nets page, so we just link to that. But for youth-related activities, camps, contesting, that kind of thing, we try to list that. So if something's not on there, let us know. But we're trying to do that for all of the Americas. And Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube are there. It's YOTA Region 2 that we're under for that. But we do try to promote everything. We really only have 2 activities so far. The summer camp and then YOTA month in December. We have special event calls throughout the month of December, and young hams take turns operating those special event stations. But those are really the only 2 things we have until this new one that I'm just getting ready to talk about. And we are set financially for next year, but we're already working on the next one. So if you'd like to donate, by all means, go right ahead. But this is brand new. This is YOTA Online. This has just been formally announced in the last couple of days. And Youngsters on the Air, which is the original over in Europe and Africa and the Middle East, which is in IARU Region 1. They tend to know their IARU regions better than we do here in the U.S., but anyway, they're putting this on, but it's a worldwide thing. So we are inviting all of our people in the Americas, which, by the way, is Region 2.
Right.
We're inviting all of our young hams, and their definition is under 26. So we always say 25 and under. They say under 26, but all young hams to participate. And this is just going to be kind of a meeting. It's kind of like a club meeting, but it's going to be a little more structured. But young people are going to be doing presentations. And the first one is going to be May 28th. So if you're under 26, put this on your calendar. First meeting, May 28th. It's at 1800 UTC. It'll be about an hour. We're going to have a young person presenting on a topic, and I won't divulge that yet. But we will have some prizes at the end. And the link to this is going to be posted the day before, okay? So what you do is just go to the Youngsters on the Air website, which is ham-yota, ham-yota.com, and the link to Zoom or whatever it's on. They haven't even said for sure what it's on yet, but whatever that's on, or any of their Ham YOTA social media, and we'll try to retweet that and put that on our site too. But and that's going to be out there on May 27th. And if you miss it, of course, it'll be recorded, and it'll be on the YouTube channel for Youngsters on the Air. And again, we'll try to repost everything because it's their thing, but they've invited everyone across the world to participate. And Thailand's got things going over in Region 3 too. So
right. Yeah,
so
I've heard some news out there.
We've got some things going now. We're going to have their camp in October, and they've already postponed. So they're kind of in the same boat as us. But this is something that Youngsters on the Air decided to do because all of these events are canceled. Their youth contesting program things have been canceled. The sub-regional camps have been canceled. The main camp, which theirs was going to be in Croatia, ours was going to be in Cincinnati, and then in Region 3 in Thailand, all of those things have been postponed. So this was kind of their answer to it. So YOTA Online, it's brand new, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Trying it out.
I'm really excited, and I'm pretty much in the dark. I love how they keep an air of mystery, and that's going to really bring in a lot of people,
they do. So I had to pry.
Exciting. Yeah, I had to pry. I can't wait to see what it is. But that's why we're here at the YouTubers Hamfest, because COVID killed the Hamfest star. So hopefully it's enjoyable, and our 296 people I see on my count are getting a lot out of this. I've had a lot of people in the chat asking, how do I join YOTA? So that's really exciting. Got a lot of young people in here. So, all right, Neil, this has been great. Are there any more news to share?
I'm looking at my clock here, so I think the only other thing that I will share is, like I said, we are planning for a kind of a day-long online camp in June during that week that we were going to have the camp. And I'm kind of thinking we may run that special event called W8Y that week, since we have the call sign.
Oh, yeah.
So we may still be on the air that week, and it's the week leading up to Field Day. So we're going to start getting those plans finalized. I've done a little bit of work on it, but we need to put that together. But we're going to get everybody together, and we have a big prize to give away.
Ooh.
so there's the air of mystery. We have a big
exciting
prize to give away. So
can't wait.
So we'll get that going next month, and that'll be specifically for people in the Americas. But again, YOTA Online is for everybody under 26. So
all right, awesome. Well,
hope
everybody. Hope I see everyone there. Okay, Neil, it's been a pleasure. Let's say 73 to you, and thanks a lot for coming in and talking about YOTA.
7-3.
All right. So it looks like I'll just be a talking head for the moment. Connor, so you're with Remote Ham Radio. You're at least using Remote Ham Radio. Can you explain what that is, and if you want to share your screen and kind of demonstrate it? See if we can get that going, so at least we have something to show to the audience.
Yeah, let me share. Okay.
There we go.
So this is the console. This is the console that everybody sees. I don't have access to all of these right now because this is a for-profit organization. And,
right, you're on a youth scholarship or youth program sort of thing?
So they have a youth program. If you go to, I believe it is remotehamradio.com/youth, I believe. It's a tab on their homepage. They have a monthly drawing that you can enter. And you enter that drawing, and every month they draw a new person, and you get added to the youth program. And these are all the stations we have. Someone's on this station, but this station has Stack Yaggies, I mean, these are all really good stations.
Yeah.
This is our favorite one in Haiti.
HH2AA.
HH2AA.
That's
So
really
if you
cool.
ever hear HH2AA on the air, that's probably one of us.
Very nice. So I've always liked the remote ham radio, kind of any remote ham radio, because one of the hard things that young people have to deal with is a station. It's really hard to get their own station up and running. And what remote ham radio does is they have a program that you can enter as a young person. I forget the age. Is it like 18 and under? I believe
for remote ham radio, I think it's like 20. I think it's 26.
20. Oh yeah, that's right, 26. Because I'm 28 and I tried to get in on the program, but I'm 2 years too late. I remember now. So, but if you're a young person under the age of 26, you can apply to use these amazing stations on remote ham radio. And in addition to that, we'll talk about recently Ray announced a youth initiative because the fallout of all of these young people joining these free amateur radio stations, really contest grade amateur radio stations, is that a lot of young people are using them up. And as you can see on the left side over here, there are a limited number of radios you can pick from. And so their initiative is, from what I understand, is they're going to work with schools like colleges and high schools to put their flex radios onto remote ham radio that the young people out there can use. Does that sound about right?
Yes, basically.
Very cool.
And yeah, so a little more about remote ham radio and us youth. So this is the flagship station, W1 Jonesport in Maine. And so we actually have a contest team set up that has, I think it was 5 youth and 5 OMs. It might have been 4 youth and 4 OMs. But it's all of us together. We operated WPX sideband from this station. Won that, by the way. And so we have put together our little contest team full of youth. And Charles is one of them, actually.
Very cool.
I see Charles is here now.
Yeah. We've got Zoom to finally work.
Hey, yeah, sorry, I had to change the location that I was doing this.
Oh, perfect, yeah. And your audio is much better than last night. Very cool. So a question I wanted to ask you guys is so do you use remote ham radio because you can't have a decent station at your house, or how did it kind of come to be for you guys?
I'll answer that because I know
Go ahead,
Charles.
Connor.
So for me, I have a station at home, but it's nothing too crazy. I just got a flex radio, so that's kind of the extent of my spending right now.
Congratulations.
But it's even W2 Jefferson, which is just a 120-foot tower and a 3-element Yagi, much better than my station.
Yeah, so you have a contest grade station,
too.
And the noise is very low. I also have a station at home, but I have a vertical in the backyard, which pretty much does nothing but pick up a transformer, a couple feet away. So I actually went in and bought a subscription to it. It's for non-youth, and for the regular people out there, the remote DX version is $99 a year plus airtime, usually between 9 cents and 39 cents an hour.
It depends on what power level you want to use.
Depending on the power level, yeah.
Yeah, right here at Blueberry, which is kind of the best station you get on remote DX, is 9 cents to, let me see, I have a little bit more privileges, so I don't want to kick this person off. You can standby receive, which is 9 cents, 100 watts is 39, and then 1,000 watts is 69 cents.
Yeah, so there's that there, and I think it's a pretty good price for the OMs out there, because imagine if you're putting up one of these stations, it would be like a $10,000, $20,000, $100,000 investment, so. But for the young people, especially, it's all free. You do have a limited selection, I see, but like a lot of times these rigs have been up and active. Contest weekends might be kind of hard to find them, right?
Well, so actually contest weekends, we usually can grab one of these. But the thing is that for contests, usually they will let us, if there's like a contest we want to work and one of the big stations is not active. I know Charles and I got to use Summit, which is Ray's contest QTH in New York. We were allowed to use Summit for a contest, and so he'll let us use these stations for contesting and stuff, just not all the time, because of course we'd be on them all day, every day. And for my birthday yesterday, he let me use Eastport all day. And so just things like that. So we get to use these stations. And of course, with our contest team, we get to use Jonesport.
That's very cool. I'll let Charles talk for a minute. How has remote ham radio impacted your ham radio life?
Well, it's really great, and being able to use remote ham radio to operate other than using my home station, having access to all these big gun stations that are in different locations where it's a lot easier to work DX. It's just incredible, and I've been able to pick up a ton of new entities and have a lot more fun in contests.
That's really cool. About how many of you guys have been using of your age in the youth group? How many people have been indoctrinated, I suppose?
Well, let's see. You can probably see this. We have our own Discord, but
very cool.
There's quite a few of us. There's about 10, 15 of us that regularly use it, and I don't know the exact number. I don't want to give the exact number, but there's quite a few that are on it, but don't use it. But their privileges are not away. They still have access.
Right. Very cool. What was I going to say? I had a thought for a second. Probably wrote down something, but all right. So yeah, this is really cool. And like I said, for young people, this is a free thing, but you have to sign up. And obviously they're limited. It's a limited resource. So, if I had all the young people in my chat sign up, it'd probably get blown away. But good thing Ray has that in mind, with the youth initiative. So here in the next couple of, I'm not sure of the time frame, but I imagine maybe a year or two from now, you'll see a whole bunch more stations, much smaller stations, not necessarily like these big gun contest grade like you have in your picture there, towers and towers and towers and stacks of stacks and stacks of Yagis. Pretty modest stations, dipoles, but with flex radio, so you get that kind of whole band spread in the view. So I think that's really awesome, and it's doing a really good justice for youth and ham radio because of the cost. It's and once you get past the cost, it's like putting up an antenna in a HOA environment that might be hard, or in a noisy environment like in my case might be really hard. So this provides a lot of value to the young people out there. So any parting thoughts or words of wisdom for other youth out there? Because I know you guys are pretty avid ops. Like, you're both contesters. I've heard you in you guys have actually started the worldwide sideband activity contest, or at least somewhat affiliated with it. So that actually has a youth category that gets extra points for young people who are contacting young people, YLs and youth YLs too. So
I can talk about the youth program actually.
Sure.
Or the youth initiative. So I can change consoles here. So basically it's open to anybody to add their station to this. The only requirement is having a flex radio and decent internet. So right now it looks like I'm the only one on the console, but here's my station. It's on my G5RV because I don't have an antenna switch remotely yet. But here's my station. I can connect up to it. It's my flex. Please tune. That's probably super loud.
Oh, it's not coming over the audio right now.
Okay,
fine.
Cool. Well, it's loud to me. And so this is my station. Looks like someone was on 40 meters. So anybody can connect. It's free up here. It's a free station for youth, and anybody connect to it. You got macros here, 100 watts. All the good stuff.
Yeah, and that whole the waterfall is just juicy. Like, it's so good to see like something like that. And that's I'll talk from the OM perspective, but if there's something in the ham radio world that is making young people like open their eyes, is seeing the entire spectrum all at once. And that it's not just for young people. Like the people who have been running stations like the IC756 or the TS590, the classic just LCD readout type of things, they fall in love with this kind of image immediately. But it's especially enticing for young people, I think, because the classic ham radios, I guess, kind of are a turnoff, because you just see a number. It's like, doesn't really understand what it means. But here you actually get a lot of science too, like what lower sideband and upper sideband looks like, what CW looks like, AM, all the different signals. You kind of get a second sense for what's going on. I imagine a lot of people can realize what that bar on the right is. It's the block of FT8 stations that are constantly there 100% of the time. And it's actually cool because it shows you where the bands are for sub bands for all of the digital modes are in that yellow bar up there.
Yeah.
Neat. All right. So it's 9:55. I'm going to say thank you guys very much for coming on. Charles, if you have any parting words, I'll let you open the mic.
No, I don't think so. Thank you
Awesome.
very much.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for the demonstration as well. This is really exciting technology and software for the next generation of amateur radio. So, all right, I'm going to bring in Dustin N8RMA and say 73 to you guys.
Thank you.
All right.
73.
73. And there we are.
Hey, good morning. Good afternoon.
Good morning, Dustin. How are you?
I am well. How are you?
Great. I'm shaking visibly with nerves because you never know when Zoom or Discord or something's gonna completely blow up and break. So it's the nature of doing business. So yeah. Anyway, thanks a lot, Connor and Charles for coming in and Neil as well to talk about Youth and Ham Radio. We're gonna kind of switch gears a bit to the state of the hobby survey. Perfect my lower third and the rest of my presentation. Zoom or OBS wants to snap the window. It's so annoying. All right, so Dustin, you are the creator, the proprietor, the runner, the survey runner, I guess, of the state of the hobby survey. Behind the scenes, you're the man doing all of the data analysis and number crunching and collecting all of the responses from hams out there. So.
Oh yeah.
Go ahead and give us a little bit of information on that. We really want to know how it started, how it came to be. Why isn't there surveys going on already? And why is this the one we really hear about? So.
Yeah, that's a great question. Probably because I spend a fair amount of time just trying to promote the survey. So let me say thanks for having me on here. And I had to laugh when you said that you were nervous. I've never been on YouTube before, so I guess maybe I'm also nervous about that. But hey, whatever.
Yeah,
we're gonna wing it here.
It's mic fright. You get over it eventually.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. Yeah. So the first thing I always like to start with is that I'm not a data scientist. I like to tell people that right up front. One of the things that people say is, "Oh, it's a non-scientific. That's not double-blind." Yeah, that's true. I'm a senior analyst for a global med tech. I specialize in digital architecture. So I spend a fair amount of time working with data and data models. So I have a little bit of understanding of what I'm doing. This whole thing started because I was browsing the amateur radio subreddit, and I saw all these surveys, and they were really good surveys. They were about these really niche topics. And if they applied to me, I would take the survey, but I never saw any of the results. And that's something that I wanted to see. So I decided to make a broad survey, as broad as it can be in such a multifaceted hobby. And I wanted to make sure that the results were available to anyone in the community who wanted to use them, whether it's a YouTuber, a club, anyone really, to use that information and try to do something actionable about that. So really the goal here is to spread awareness on topics within the community, within our community. It's to spark conversation between operators, and really it's to be a fun event every year that people can look forward to. I know I like giving my opinion on things, and I hope others do too. So really that's sort of how the survey came to fruition.
Oh, very cool. What are some of the main challenges? I heard you talk about one of the main issues. You get a lot of feedback saying like this isn't a legit survey, but even then, me personally, it's provided a wicked amount of value, especially in youth and ham radio. One of the things we need to know is there really a problem with the curve of age in ham radio? Do we expect to see like a drop off in the next 20 years or so? And your survey data is definitely showing us some eye-opening. You can see the curve of age of hams aging over time, and hopefully as this goes on, we'll start to see the youth start to open up. And one of the things that's been interesting is sharing those results. And one of the biases, the natural biases you get out of it, is where do you actually put the survey? And I think You've already told us that you've done a pretty diligent job at like posting this everywhere: QRZ, Reddit, Young Hams, Yark, et cetera, et cetera. So we try to get like a subsect of all of that. But what do you think is one of the largest challenges with running this?
Really, I have three main challenges, really, when it comes to the survey. The first is getting it in front of as many people as possible. And I'll talk a little bit here in a minute about a large source of the data where I get a lot of hits from. The second part is convincing people to take the survey. It's grown over the years. It's kind of long. And I admit that it's sort of biased towards U.S. hams. I'd like to fix that by working with hams in other parts of the world in the future. So trying to convince people to take the survey that they're going to be providing relevant information is hard. And the last thing is staying positive. Anyone who's a creator on YouTube or any platform knows that there's a lot of backlash and vitriol. And when I release the survey, I tend to not even look at the threads. I kind of post them and just kind of let them go.
Yep.
It's hard. It's been a lot better this year. Everyone has been very nice, very kind. People have been human this year. Last year was rough. Yeah, last year was really rough, but it's been great. So really, those are my three challenges. Now, in terms of where I get a lot of this data from, QRZ and Facebook really are king. They just have a large target audience, and Facebook has a great mechanism for sharing and letting that proliferate between the social media platform itself. The Yark Discord, which I've sort of met you through that, and we've communicated there. That's been a great source for the next generation of operators, whether they are just entering into the hobby, whether they're just or they're interested. It's a great source. I get a lot of great feedback and data from that group. This year, Reddit was great. In years past, it's been tough. The mod team over there has done a really great job this year of pinning the survey, and lots of results from there. And I think that has sort of not the next generation, but the generation after that, a great source of information from that group that I'd love to have their feedback. Last year was the first year I made an appearance on YouTube, not me personally, but the survey. It was a Ham Radio Crash Course, Josh Nass, and Curtis at Everything Ham Radio. So that was fun. And it was the first year it was on a podcast, the guys over at the ICQ podcast. And then countless blogs, ham radio blogs. I can't thank everyone. It would take me forever. So, thank you to those people. I couldn't even hope to do this without the help. So I really do appreciate that.
Yeah, it really gets a lot of eyes. I'm always surprised at how many. Usually it's in the 2,000, 3,000 range of responses.
Yeah, last year we had, I think, 3,700 responses.
Oh, wow.
Which pales in comparison to the amount of licensed ham radio operators out there. So that's always my goal every year. This year we're doing fantastic. It's the end of the first week, and we have over 3,000 already. So, if this continues, we're on track to have maybe 11,000, 15,000, which would be fantastic.
Yeah, not bad. And hey, Chad, if you haven't taken the survey by now, you should. They're posting the links in the chat. Radio SOTH Sierra Oscar Tango Hotel.org is the source of this survey.
Yep, and on that site you can find the previous year's results. There's one from 2017, 2018, 2019, and then when 2020 is done, I'll post that there. So if you have some time and you're interested, you can always go back and look at the previous year's results, and there really is some fun and interesting things you can learn in there.
Cool. So let's talk about like some of the results you've seen, like surprises, like things that are like, oh, I didn't expect that at all. Is there anything like that you've seen before?
Yeah, there are. In fact, I have some slides here. I can throw some of these up.
Yeah.
All right. Again, we're doing this live, right? So we're trying to work the...
All the kinks are going to be shown right here.
Yeah.
So, as we saw earlier, but bear with us. And I got to move my stuff around, of course. All right. Looks good.
Okay. So The slide that I threw this up here because I wanted to share it with you. Let me so I always like to start with this. I kind of throw this around. This is my enthusiasm about the survey in the course of a 12-month period. And as you can see, typically the survey window is mid-February through mid-April. And what happens is I have great enthusiasm, and then as soon as the survey drops, it's a downward spiral, and usually right around April or May, I'm crying, and then right around August, I suddenly get amnesia, and then I get really excited for it for the next year, and that sort of builds up until it's released. So I always like to share that. So we already talked a little bit about this. About the source. This is from 2019, and as you can see, most of them are from QRZ and Facebook, and I won't rehash this. But really, this to me is the most surprising thing. Last year, I actually polled folks who were not yet licensed but interested, and I just asked them some questions to kind of understand how I can help them, how we as a community can help them along in their journey, whether it's to get licensed or once they're licensed, how to get active. And what's amazing to me is that less than a third were encouraged by a Elmer or a mentor. And that blows my mind.
Yeah.
I just I can't imagine what is driving that other 70% to find this hobby. And I think being able to tap into that is going to be critical.
I think, shout out for the YouTubers out there that do ham radio. I bet if you asked a question like where, maybe you did or not, we'll see. But where did you learn about ham radio? Where did you get most of that information from? A lot of it has been shifting over from like the traditional, you have an Elmer who educates you and basically raises you through the ham radio ranks. And now it's kind of turned to the internet, social media, and then obviously YouTube. There's not a single person I know that is in ham radio that hasn't used YouTube as some sort of resource to learn about everything, anything you can think about. So I bet that'll take up a big chunk of today's Elmer, if you will. So there's definitely a place for Elmers. We're not saying this means we need to stop Elmering and do more YouTube. There's obviously a connection we make as people, as long as there's no pandemic out there. I mean, I actually used to run a contest program called the Youth Contesting Program, and it's just barely like it's still a glimmer in my eye. Kind of the original first runs of it were pretty much a total flop. And the idea was to link up contest stations and their owners with young operators and actually have them physically come to the station and get some Elmering from the contester, the station owner, the station host. But in the 2020s and in the modern era, that's starting to, well, it's not starting to, it's already pretty much fully up, kind of is a thing of the past, just knocking on your neighbor's door because there's a ham radio antenna on the roof. Obviously
I do it.
Yeah, I mean, I still would do it, but I think kids these days are not inclined, and not just because the kid themselves is scared or like me,
just
introverted.
A different time.
It's just a different time, different upbringing. It seems weird to go to a stranger and say, "Hey, I see antennas on your car. Are you a ham?" And things like social media and chats and stuff. Discord are ushering in kind of the next generation. And I think that's what we're seeing from your results, like right here.
Yeah, absolutely. And tied to that is myself, my grandfather is a ham radio operator, and I asked if any other members of their family are radio operators, and only 14% said that they were. And the rest of the data that I have shows that when other family members are hams, an individual is typically licensed for longer, and they're typically more active. So having that family tie is important, and the fact that that's so low to this next generation, is a little bit concerning. So
right.
That was some of the things. Let's see, I have a couple others. My personal favorite is the HOA question, and I heard you mention that a little bit when you were talking with Connor. and Charles, I think his name was, about the HOA situation. And what's interesting to me is that that I feel like the data shows that it's more of a perception rather than a threat. So I typically ask, what are some of the issues that are facing the hobby? And you can see that represented here by the blue bars. And HOAs is the second most reported issue. And the orange bars here would be the largest perceived threat. And it's not first or second. I think it's maybe fourth. It's up there, so it's high in terms of an issue, and in terms of the largest issue reported. But then I ask a little bit later on, have you been impacted by an HOA in regard to the hobby? And by and large, people have said no. And I understand that there may be some people who, when they're looking for a home, they actively avoid one in an HOA. But it just seems to have something that's rated so highly as a perceived threat, but yet have an impact on so few operators. I think we should just take a look at that critically and think, with all the challenges that are facing ham radio today, how much capital do we want to spend on fighting HOAs with the legislature? There might be other areas that money and time is better spent. I don't know. That's the whole point of the survey, is to sort of get people talking.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, and shout out to youth. One of your questions is an issue facing the hobby: young operators, old operators, and you have young operators right there in the middle. Is it an issue to have young operators on? I'm wondering if there's like resent out there.
Yeah, and that's why I ask those. Every year people comment like, well, they email me and they say, well, what does that mean? And my response is, well, what does that mean to you?
Right.
This question was designed to be sort of a gut check. And if I listed all the criteria for what constituted a young operator, someone might not think that it fits. I want it to come from their gut and see.
Right.
And it's interesting. It really is that and old operators, right? What does that exactly mean?
Yeah.
So
is it like literally people who have old age, or is it
right.
curmudgeons and people who operate on 7200 or that sort of thing?
Oh boy.
You could put a whole question in there for 7200. I'm sure.
I could. I want to avoid that.
Yeah.
And then I always get this every year is it's called the State of the Hobby Survey. And people just seem to really take offense to me calling it a hobby. So last year I asked, I said, hey, is it a hobby or a service, or is it both? And an overwhelming majority said it's both a hobby and a service. A little chunk there, 15.5% said it's only a hobby. So all told, at least 99% of people who responded think it's at least a hobby, and maybe has some service components.
That's good. Because I've seen long debates on whether or not this is a hobby or a service. It's like it can't be both to some people.
Yes.
But clearly, I mean, this is 3,000 to 4,000 responders of hams all across the internet, saying it's a hobby and it's also a service. So
yeah, and maybe because it's called the state of the hobby, it's a little biased.
There's a little bias poking in.
A little bias there, but either way, I'm not getting a new URL for the survey, so we're just gonna put that to bed. So.
Right.
Yeah, I could talk for hours here. How are we doing on time here?
We are at 10:15, and so probably about 5 to 10 more minutes we've got before I start getting kicked off, and we bring on 7:41. So go ahead and talk for a few more slides, and I'll kind of poke in some questions. And if you guys have any questions, please post them in the chat, and we'll try to get them out there if I catch it. It's hard to keep track of everything, but bear with me. So go ahead.
Perfect. Yeah, this is just some fun slides here. I have a desk that's full of HTs. I don't know about you, Sterling, but I wanted to know on average how many HTs people had, and it seems like the average ham radio operator has 3.5, whatever that means, 3.5 HTs hanging out. And I start to think of the pile that I have, and that's pretty representative of what I have. I have maybe 4, so it's close to it. And then I ask about spending. How much have you spent on ham radio in the last 12 months, and how much do you would you like to spend? And it's interesting to see. The average spending was around $1,600. So there is an industry out there. Maybe not as much as some others, but it exists.
Mm-hmm. Very cool.
So I'll spend the last couple minutes here just kind of talking about sort of what the future looks like, and what people can do. And if you see any questions from your audience, just feel free to cut in, and I'll try to answer the best I can.
All right, let me take a look. First of all, I want to shout out to all of my subscribers, because it looks like to me, if I post this up here and I put this to this screen and I minimize this, 2,000 subscribers. I think we hit it. So thank you guys so much. I never would have thought that this would have hit this point. I can only see more growth from here, so I really appreciate that. That's a heck of a number. So anyway.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you. Let's get back to figuring out which thing is right. Any questions in the chat? Looking for question marks. It looks like there's just a lot of discussion regarding HOAs, antennas. HOAs have been a boon for stealth antenna design. I personally definitely did not pick a house in an HOA, but I also shot myself in the foot because I have 9 houses within the near field of 40 meters. And so, and a transformer that's just probably arcing on the inside, so the noise is crazy. But, I did see one of your questions is one of the issues is RFI, and I think that's number 2, right? Like the RFI question, because
let's go back and take a look here.
Definitely something being talked about.
Yeah, so it looks like
Number
RFI
3.
from external sources. Yeah, that was the third largest, or the third most reported issue. Yeah, and I agree. I've got one on 80 meters around here too. I can't use 80 meters to save my soul. So
yeah,
we'll definitely feel that.
Yeah. So and then looking at this, the operator base aging out will kind of like wrap it all back around into the youth kind of perspective. I'm kind of throwing out there. So it seems like the largest issue from all of your participants is that we fear that the current operator base, the current hams, are at the point where in the next X number of years, and we're trying to determine what that X is from your survey data, because in fact, if you try to ping the FCC and get their data, they don't have data on birth dates for all the hams. And if even you tried to like work out a thing with the Social Security Service and get ages, and it would just be a nightmare, and it probably wouldn't even be able to, happen. So this is the best data we have to make decisions in the hobby. And I'm sure people all the way up, like IRAU level, ARRL level, are probably looking at this too and thinking, oh, we didn't know this was such a problem, or maybe they already knew because they have their own surveys, but who knows? It's just that this data is very useful, and it's public, and it really helps, I think, for the entire ham radio community, and especially for me seeing, everyone is afraid of the operator base aging out. That's going to ruin or be a big issue for the hobby down the line. What can we do to bring in the next generation, bring in more hams? They don't have to be young hams. They can be retirees and 40-somethings, 20-somethings, young professionals, mid, everyone. Everyone can get into ham radio. It's definitely not. We definitely don't discriminate. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've always said that communication is a core component of amateur radio, and and without others to communicate with, we're really just talking to ourselves, and how many years down the road before that happens.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of other impact that people don't think about when you look at that the operator base aging out. At some point, radio manufacturers like ICOM and Yaesu and Kenwood, it's just not going to be worth their time to create commercially available gear.
Mm-hmm.
If right now there's a large base of folks, not all, but some who are older and who are retired and maybe have a little extra money to throw at the hobby. But if that base dwindles, how long before those manufacturers exit that market. At some point, it's just not going to be worth it for them.
Right.
So, these are the long lasting impacts of the health of the hobby. Why it's so important for us to do everything we can to make sure it's healthy and increase that. And there's many others as well. One that people know quite a bit is the loss of spectrum. Right, if the hobby base keeps shrinking, it's going to be a heck of a lot easier for the FCC to start taking some of that spectrum and giving it out. So,
yeah,
all very important things that we need to kind of keep our eyes on.
Yeah, it's super important. So let's kind of close it out. We got a few more minutes left before I get 741 the mic, and when he talks about, let's see, he's going to be talking about SDR play and used gear buying tips. So stay tuned for that. Kind of a closing question is what does the future of the survey look like? Is it kind of stay like this? Is it growing? How can we help you, add questions, improve the quality of the data, that sort of stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, each year I like to improve the survey just a little bit. I'm not trying to boil the ocean, but just a little bit. 2017 was a really rough draft, very short survey, not very well put together. 2018 was the first year that I actually modeled the results into a data model, and that was helpful to me. 2019 was the first year that I pulled those who aren't yet licensed or who would like to be licensed, and then this is the first year that the survey is anonymous, so you don't have to provide your call sign if you don't want to. I'd like to move to a more robust survey platform. Google's is free, but it's very limited. So with that comes the need to maybe do some fundraising. So you might see that in the future. And, if you find it useful and like to donate, that would be great. Just follow my blog for more details on that. I'm going to keep running it as long as that amnesia keeps hitting me in the fall. I'll keep running it. And as long as people enjoy taking the survey and find it useful, I'll keep doing it. And in terms of how you can help me, first and foremost, participate in the survey every year. It's annual, so don't feel like take it once and then you're done. Take it every year. So that's going to be the first. And the second is to share it. Share it with all your radioactive peers, everyone that you know. Email it, talk about it in your clubs, on nets, on Discord, on social media. Just help me try to get this out to as many people as possible. And then lastly, and this is a big one to me, is talk about this survey, talk about the results with your clubs, with your friends, on your Discord channels, on your YouTube channels. Talk about what you agree with, talk about what you don't agree with. Trying to move that needle is going to be so important for the health of the hobby today and in the future. That's really going to be key to keep the hobby thriving. If you want to help me, if there's a question that you'd like to see on the survey and you haven't taken it this year, take the survey. There's a section at the very end that says, hey, what do you want to see next year? And throw your question in there. I've taken a look at some of these already, just prematurely, and there has been fantastic questions that people have suggested that I will be using. So that's going to be your best way to do that, or get a hold of me. Send me an email, hit me up on Discord. However you'd like to do that, I'm happy to chat with people.
Very cool. Yeah. So this has been a great pleasure. The data is always eye-opening every year. And like you said, keep taking the survey. Don't just take it once and be done, because things change. Like even your not just your age, but your interests and all that stuff changes all the time. Me personally, I go from being into HF and contesting, and then I go to being into Hamfesting and maybe VHF stuff. So it's really interesting to see these trends change over time. And so that's why you got to keep on taking it. It's really quick and easy. I've looked at the chat, and it seems like maybe 10, 15, 20 people. I saw Bob's K6 UDA took it, so you got one from him. That's awesome.
All right.
384 people in here now. We're going to start switching over to 741 here in a minute. So I want to say thanks a lot, Dustin, for coming on and sharing this really eye-opening information. We hope to have you on next year, and I hope to see you on the Hamvention forum roster, I'm sure.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That'll be really cool to see, the trends and the updates and all that stuff. So
I would love that. Thanks again for having me and for helping run this event. Great event, and look forward to it. So thanks again, and thanks to everyone from taking the survey as well.
All right, 73. See you, Dustin.
73.
Okay, well, this has been a heck of a an event. Let me admit Rob into the waiting room and make you the host. And I'm going to get out of here and give you some parting words. The chat has already posted a bunch of the links to the next stream, which is 741 Rob N1NUG, who's going to come and bring us some information about no, you're not, Dustin. About whatever Rob's going to talk about. I think you've got SDR play and used gear stuff. So everyone, go to his thing. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this, click like. If you want to see more of this, click subscribe, hit the bell, and do all of the great things to keep this channel running. And thank you so much for 2,000 subscribers. I am over the moon, like shaking with glee and joy, and this has been such a unique experience. And I hope everyone else here in the YouTube bunch, has a similar bump in numbers, if you will. So thanks a lot, everyone. 73. And I'll see you next time on N0SSC.